3004, 3005. Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. I was just getting a little tan, doing some girls, suntanning my perineum, and wondering if our techno-feudalist overlords are going to ruin society while wearing jeans with running shoes, or if they're our only hedge against Chinese supremacy. Well, let's find out. Today we're talking Palantir.
Morning, folks. Welcome to the Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. We have a very special program for you today. If you're watching, you might notice we've found ourselves in a suit. We are back in the corporate setting because we have a very important topic today. A company that is changing America's position on the world stage, what it means to be an American, whether your civil rights are even real. Folks, that's right. We are talking about Palantir. Now, depending on who you talk to about Palantir, it is either cause for grand concern or it is the thing that helps America still compete on the global stage amidst a lot of bureaucratic inefficiencies. Does that sound exciting? Does it get your dick hard? I promise this is going to be an interesting story. Now, just a little housekeeping up front for people who listen to the show. We're going to change the format a little bit. Each week, we're going to pick one topic, do a deep dive. Okay, you're going to watch me learn about these things in real time so I can teach you about it, and then we'll do some fun news stories on the back end. But let's start with the roadmap for our discussion today of Palantir. Palantir. Do you know what that means? It's Spanish. It doesn't. It's not Spanish. It's fucking Elvish or something. Palantir is a reference to Lord of the Rings. It is the all-seeing eye. In the right hands, it can be everything. In the wrong hands, it can be disaster. And that is what the company has done. Now, we're going to talk about Palantir today and the important aspects of it. The why, what, why, what? These are the key questions to ask about anything. The why, what, why, what? All right? We're going to call it the 5 W's, and I think that's really a great way to start any question. How we're going to discuss this today is why people are talking about Palantir, why we're talking about it now, what the fuck do they actually do, why we should be afraid of them, why we should be excited about them, and what we should do about it all. You may think you know Palantir, but what I have found in my research as someone who, look, I assumed I knew. I assumed I knew a lot. I'm from Silicon Valley. I'm basically Steve Jobs. The only difference is I like to wear multiple outfits. And is that holding me back intellectually? Possibly. Is it making me a fucking stud? Yeah. Now, I believe Palantir's founder still wears multiple shirts, but he doesn't have a large array of clothing. That is Alex Karp, and we will get to him later. Let's begin with the why people are talking about Palantir now. Palantir is a hot little commod. It's a hot little stock. It's the Sydney Sweeney of stocks, and it's throwing those big juicy milkies around. And some people are calling them Nazis. It really is the Sydney Sweeney of stocks. And I guarantee you the children of all the main investors are doing some White Lotus shit. That's a guarantee because they've made a lot of money. Okay, doubled on that. I think, yes, stock doubled in 2025, soared 144%. It's one of the top performers in the S&P. Okay, it's surpassed Ford. We know what Ford does. Okay, Ford makes trucks. I'm a Ford truck man. That's all I drive. I don't know what a Palantir man does. Okay, it is one of the largest, most important companies in the world, and most people barely have any idea what it does because it's a little vague, but it does make sense. Now, should you buy the stock now? This is not a financial advice program, but people who adhere to the Warren Buffett style of investment would say the products to earning, products to sales are a little overvalued. There's a lot of hype, okay? There's a lot of hype. They're big on Reddit, okay? Except instead of being GameStop, where it's people who just have hype, they are backing that ass up with incredible earnings, incredible revenue projections. Everything is going very well because they are trying to run the government. Now, I'm not saying that in a tinfoil hat sense. I'm telling you in the sense that that is what they want to do. They want to become the operating system for the government. And the Trump administration is down with that ass. They are down with that ass. We will discuss the deep connections. We will discuss how Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance and this entire techno-libertarian wing of the Republican Party is in Trump's ear. We'll discuss all of that. But let's just say that they have the hype. They have the online hype. If you go on their Reddit, okay, there are over 100,000 hobbits. Why do I say that? Why do I say there are over 100,000 hobbits? No, I'm not just saying because a lot of people on Reddit, and I love my Reddit people, do probably have, small frames and large hairy feet. That's not why I'm saying that. And I'm a Reddit person too. Love my Reddit people. I'm saying that because the Palantirian people, the people who follow their subreddit are called hobbits. They're over 100,000 strong, and they love commenting in there talking about their CEO who they love, Daddy Karp. Yeah, they say Daddy Karp's bringing us that cash. They will also make dark jokes about how war is good for them, how they've made money in Gaza. There's a dark side to this little Palantir project. But we're talking about it now because not only do they have the hype of a Wall Street hype stock, okay? And this is one of my favorite things is the Wall Street hype beast investor. It's really the hype beast investor has taken over the country. Now, I'm offended by this, okay? Because I grew up in a world where we got Beanie Babies. Okay, we did. We enjoyed them. Okay, I had a platypus. I fucking loved that thing. And I cut the tags off because everyone was like, these are going to be collector's items. And I was like, you guys are virgins and losers. And yet, the collectors have been right at every turn. The sports card collectors, it's worth it. The Beanie Babies, it's worth it. The Labubu's are going crazy. Even the stock investors have been right. We've tracked AMC. We've tracked GameStop. Now, imagine a stock that has this level of hype, but is actually backing that ass up. That's Palantir. There is hype, but it is a mix of all that hype and all that techno-futurism and the belief that this is a company that could be the single most important AI company, which would be the single most important company in the single most important space. When you believe in that, the multiples are impossible. Now, the investors who follow the Warren Buffett model and say the products to earnings and products to shares, it's overvalued right now, also have a good point. But we are mixing hype with an actual backbone that is deeply tied in to the U.S. government as well as a ton of Fortune 500 companies, and that is why we are talking about Palantir today. So let's start at the top. What would you say they do here, folks? Here's an expert explaining what Palantir does, allegedly.
They got their start going back to 2003 in trying to come up with a data analytics platform. We're in the middle of the war on terror. We're involved in operations in Afghanistan. We're involved in operations in Iraq. And what is our number one problem there at the time? It's insurgency. It's roadside bombs, IEDs that were killing U.S. and allied soldiers and infantry on the ground at a really alarming rate. So Palantir came in and said, look, we can take all of this information that you're collecting, and the Defense Department collects a whole lot on the battlefield, and integrate it in a database and help you spot bad actors, spot terrorists. That is what they pitched themselves as doing when they were first sort of coming on the scene in 2003, 2004, and really for the first decade plus of its existence. What they've expanded to today is something much bigger, in some ways more interesting, and in some ways kind of posits them to be more successful, which is they are a problem solver for the Department of Defense. You have a problem, we will solve it.
That's right, folks. Like all things good and healthy for American civil liberties, they were born out of our reaction to 9/11. I'm, of course, kidding a little bit. I think I want us to use all the data and technology that we can to make sure we make less mistakes on the battlefield that endanger both our service members and people in the areas where our troops are engaged. I don't think that's too crazy of a thought. So they started off as this, I believe it was fraud prevention at the beginning, and then they realized they could help use their data to solve problems on the battlefield. And that's what Palantir essentially is. They are here to use data to solve your problems. Now, whose problems they're solving is going to be in a later segment, but that's essentially the idea. The idea is that the world is a big soup of data, and if you don't know how to use it, you're fucked in the ass, right? I think that's relatively fair. We all have data in our own lives. I was just going through my data this weekend in Joshua Tree. I ate a mushroom. You got to know how to sort your data and act on it. So it's intelligence. Intelligence for the battlefield, intelligence for businesses. There was CIA funding at the beginning. That's interesting. And now, essentially, what they do, their main business, their focus, what they think they were put here to do is help specifically with the government and defend the concept of the West, the free and open West, in theory. That's kind of the vibe. They also now have expanded into the corporate world. They're working with Wendy's. They're working with Wendy's, dude. They are getting that data. They're getting you that fresh Frosty data, okay? How many Frosties does it take to get diabetes and lose your foot? Palantir may be the only people who know it's valuable intel. They work with everybody. I have a list of people I could look at, but I could say anybody and it would be right, okay? I think they work with General Mills. They work with fucking pickleball, okay? And everyone who's listened to this program who knows a little bit about me knows I have a vendetta against Big Pickle. Okay, pickleball, you've claimed my Achilles one time. I ain't going back, bruh. I'm not going back. I don't care how much data you have. There's a story about Palantir, about how effective their tools are. That at sales conferences, what they do is they have people come in and they say, what is your biggest business problem? BBP. What's your BBP? It's like a BBL, but instead of solving your lack of ability to make money at the strip club or to convince a guy in Miami to take you for a date in his rented Lambo, it's more like, why is your business not doing as well as you'd like it to? And they, at the sales conference, say, let's plug you into our model. And they show solutions, and people are usually so impressed they sign up for multi-year contracts right there. Now that, folks, that's a hell of a prod right there. Let's give credit where credit is due. I would love if any Palantir executives or their CIA investors and handlers are listening to the Joey Show, and we know you do, and we love you, and please be nice. I would love a free, you run through my data. You solve for my big business problem, my BBP. I think there are tons of gains that I could say that I would love to use Palantir for. So that's what it does. In a certain sense, it helps solve problems. Now, what started as a data specific, we are like back in the day, okay? And folks, I don't know if you can tell. We're in an office building in Silicon Valley. We know about tech. Back in the day, the big buzzword was big data, BD. Big old D, okay? And that was the idea. The idea was that if we have the data, we'll be able to solve everything, okay? And people were using big data for, we're an advertising company, but really we're a big data company. Everything's big data. Once we have the data, then we know what's up. Palantir took that to the next level. And now, the main reason they're exploding now, as far as I can tell, is because AI has come in at the exact right time and it plugs in perfectly with all they're doing. So now instead of just saying, We can organize all your data and find out what your big problems are and propose solutions. Now they're bringing in AI to automatically act on some of those things. And that's why everyone is saying, are they next? Are they the one? Are they the future of our government? Are they the future of business? Are they the future of BBLs? Dude, they might be, okay? They might have the biggest badonk in the business world right now. Is that true? Let's find out in our next segment. So now we know what they do. Let's discuss a little bit about what makes people excited about Palantir. A lot of this episode will discuss the more potentially dystopian features, things you may have run across in your own research and understanding, but there is reason for people to be pumped too. I think we all understand that the government needs to be modernized. Have you been to the DMV? What the fuck is going on over there? I know that's a classic joke. Everyone's like, oh, going to the DMV is horrible. But it is. Make it a machine. Potentially. There's a story the CTO of Palantir tells where the U.S. government wanted to know how many tanks they had. I would argue, know that already. Ideally. Maybe know that already. Maybe count them as you bring. But that's not the point. I've played enough Risk in my life to know we need to know where our resources are at. Ergo, data is important. The way that the government would find out at the time how many tanks the U.S. government would have would take over 3 weeks. That's not really great in the modern state of war. With Palantir, it took, 30 minutes, a short amount of time. That sort of stuff matters. I think we can all agree we want to live in a country that is technologically up to date. I don't have to tell you that. You've been to the DMV. It's one woman on a typewriter. What is she doing there? Why is she on the typewriter? And why is she screaming at me? The DMV is a horrible place. It's well covered. That's not a Joey Show exclusive. So there are a lot of things that could be done better in the government. I do think we understand the private sector has a much better chance of doing that. That's where a lot of the excitement comes from. Could be good for the government, could be good for businesses. No one wants a big data mess. We would love to have more operational insights. They tell stories about how they've helped with violence deterrence, knowing that the story he told was that, if it gets warm outside of a certain Jack-in-the-Box, more stabbings occur. So maybe they'll put police there. It'll cut down violence. These sorts of things sound good. The ramifications, the civil liberties implications, we will discuss in the next segment. Also, there's a lot of lore around the fact that they helped kill bin Laden. I'm personally not a huge bin Laden guy. People have different opinions. Look, history is complex. I was never a huge bin Laden guy, and I want to stamp my claim on that right now. They asked the CEO, Alex Karp, if they were involved in that, and his response was, I can't answer that, but anytime you see a big story in the news, there's a 2/3 chance Palantir was involved. Well, that's interesting. That's quite a story to tell. That's also neither a confirm nor a denial. I feel like that's definitely what I would say. That's 100% what I would say. If I went out to a bar and my friends were like, dude, I heard you hooked up with the hottest chick there in college and I didn't, probably be like, well, this. You hear a rumor like that, 2/3 of the time your boy got it done. Yeah. That is the voice of a man who jerked off into a sock. The other thing you'll hear a lot of is we need to be competitive on the global stage. There are a lot of places in which we're getting our lunch eaten by China with chopsticks or a fork. Doesn't matter. Still scary. Now, is our government doing a really good job of competing? Do we have the ability to compete with a top-down totalitarian state, or are we going to have to outcompete them with what we're actually good at, innovation in the tech field? That is the one space that America has shown dominance. So if we want to outcompete foes that do not have our best interests in mind, okay, places like China that are buying up real estate in this country, that are doing a lot of things that at the next level are not looking great for us, how do we compete against them, but with this sort of technological innovation that helps our government from the outside? That's the argument you hear. And also, they're making sweet new tech like this guy.
Palantir is developing the Army's first AI-defined vehicle, designed to outpace and outmaneuver our adversaries with cutting-edge technology that will enable long-range precision fires for the modern battle space. Titan is the Army's next-generation, deep-sensing intelligence ground station enabled by artificial intelligence and machine learning, and represents the first-of-its-kind modernization program. Titan is a historic first for the Army, as a hardware program that is defined by software and developed by a leading-edge software company. Titan delivers AI at the edge that can be tailored to the mission, ensuring soldiers have the latest and most relevant models wherever the mission takes them, even as the threat landscape evolves. What sets Titan apart from prior capabilities is the decisive advantage that the software-enabled capabilities will give to soldiers. This includes faster, deeper sensing that can handle modern...
Now, I barely know what any of that meant. And I gotta tell you, it makes me yearn for the past. I understand that the wars are eventually going to be fought by these sorts of bumblebee-ass transformers that use satellite data to directly place RPG fire in the anus of one of our adversaries. But wasn't it cool when it was just a guy with a cig and a little locket with a photo of his wife driving a fucking tank being like, I may never get back home? Now, I wouldn't want to be that guy. I'd rather have this sort of fucking thing, but what is that? And isn't that going to break down? I swear to God, every time I get in a car that's like, you can control the AC by the computer. I can't. No, I can't anymore. Not because I'm an old man, but because it breaks and it malfunctions. And it was somehow also made by the Chinese. Are we making all that here? Tell me we're making that tech here. There's no way. There's no way. But I guess they would know. Shout out to this lady. So there it is. Hardware, software, data, AI. It is every single word that you've ever wanted, and their goal and their promise is that not only can they help your business, they will help your country and your vision of survival. But is that the only side of the story? So now that we understand why to be excited, what is there to fear? Can we get some ominous tones for that? What is there to fear about Palantir? We'll let this clip lead things off.
There's a reason Palantir just replaced Ford Motors in the S&P 100 in the months after Trump was elected. The Trump administration is an ideal customer for what Palantir is selling. First, there are many former Palantir employees sprinkled across the Trump administration, from inside Doge to foreign policy advisors to high-level technology appointees. And Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the company, is also heavily invested in President Trump and Vice President Vance. He was a major campaign donor to both. Then, the stated goal of Doge is to streamline and combine government data, which is exactly what Palantir does.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other.
And obviously, Karp is loving it.
Disruption, at the end of the day, exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. There's a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. It's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things and to win.
And what is winning, according to Palantir? This is CTO Shyam Sankar in 2021.
Turning to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
The government's operating system. They want everything to funnel through Palantir. Palantir already has contracts with the IRS, going through taxpayer data to save auditors time by finding the easiest audits to pursue. Now, Wired reports, Doge will likely hire Palantir to create unified software for the entire IRS, a mega API that would allow anyone with access to view and possibly alter all IRS data in one place. That's all of your financial information. And they have multiple contracts with the Department of Health and Human Services, including nearly $100 million to support HHS's core administrative data and applications.
All right, that's enough of someone with a smarter haircut than me talking. That's a lot to be concerned about. Now we can see there is a connection between Palantir and the administration in terms of people who have left and gone there, people who have gone there that are now in it, that are in Doge. Now, these people would tell you they want to modernize the government. That doesn't sound like such a bad thing. Why would we not want different aspects of the government talking to one another, being more efficient? It's a fair question. It kind of depends on how they're using it and whether or not they're going after you. Do you trust them? Do you trust this administration? Well, if you don't, you may not. If you do, you may not trust the next one. If you don't, vice versa. You get the point. It's the whole point of the Constitution. Don't give people power that you wouldn't trust if it was wielded against you. Now, I, like anyone else, I'm all for an efficient government, okay? But when we are talking about an administration currently that has deep ties to this company, that has also proven they are willing to step on the civil liberties of Americans if they feel like it's the right vibe, then it can get a little spooky. Now, it's one thing to use advanced technology and data in the fog of war, and we can, of course, debate whether or not wars are just. That would be a topic for a different video. But when you start using those things on American civilians, it gets a little different. Now, we know for a fact Palantir is working closely with ICE. Does that mean they're going against American citizens? Well, sometimes no, but sometimes yes. And if you have different government agencies saying, okay, we can use Palantir to share all this data, you can start to see how in an environment where technology has forced us to basically give up all of our privacy, shit get real spooky real quick. Shit get real spooky real quick. I believe it was Shakespeare who said that. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm not up to some fuck shit. Why don't they just use it to go after the bad guys? Well, it depends on their definition of the bad guys long term. I have not illegally immigrated to this country yet. I haven't. I've thought about it. But I haven't done it yet. I just was born here, like Lady Gaga. I was born this way. No, it's very easy and very tempting, especially as you get older and more comfortable in your life, right? I'm becoming, and I know this is going to be news to a lot of you, I am going to one day become an old white man. I will. And I will be tempted at that time to say, I'm not doing anything wrong. Keep me safe. I don't want these criminals hanging out and stealing my wind chimes. I don't know what I'll be into when I'm older. I would imagine wind chimes. It seems to be important to the elderly. It's very tempting. It's very, very tempting to be like, well, I'm not an illegal immigrant. Well, I'm not a foreign fighter. Okay? I'm not even a fighter. I don't even fight foo. It's very tempting to fall into that. But in a government that keeps pushing the bounds of what they think is reasonable, okay, using ICE in ways that has never been used before, sending our own troops into cities like D.C., well, who is to say that they won't be using Palantir technology to identify people for smoking weed? Imagine that. Imagine just trying to rip a little Gonjissimo with your friend. You're getting fucking minority reported out there by a Silicon Valley tech company in cahoots with every single aspect of the federal government. It sounds crazy, but it's true. It has been proven, okay, that some of the stuff that Palantir has done has been incorrect at times and ineffective and also has trampled civil liberties. They partnered with the LAPD and ran a program called Laser. It was discontinued in 2019 because they found that some of the predictive things that it were doing trampled civil liberties. It would do things like say, hey, this area has high crime, we need to put police there, but also we can build profiles on people based off of different things that they're able to find in different parts of the data world. Social media, your actual relationships. Do you know people who've been involved in crime? Are you one of their, are you just friends with them? Does that implicate you? Does that get police looking at you? Do they start looking into you and find, oh, hey, maybe you're not a violent criminal, but you like smoking a little meth on a Saturday night? Hey, who doesn't like smoking a little meth on a Saturday night? I'm just kidding. Don't smoke meth. We don't support meth here at this program. It's an anti-meth show. It's an anti-meth show. But do I worry that combining all of the civil liberties trampled in the tech world with a government that is completely all in on this could lead to some shit getting scary? Yes, I could. And that's where it gets wonky, using Palantir so that insurance companies can determine whether or not to deny claims. Argument 4, well, actually it will speed things up, make things more efficient. I love efficiency. Argument against. Oh, a computer decided you don't get to pay for this, so you either have to die or go into debt. That's also a tough way to go. Do you see where things can get spooky? It can get a little spooky. And that's okay. I'm not saying that this is Palantir's fault even. We might be living in a world where this is guaranteed. But this is a company that we need to keep an eye on, because if they are going to become the main driver of our government becoming more efficient, while also becoming one of the main drivers of our government continuing to trample on our civil liberties as Americans that the founding fathers were very specific in talking about, then we should probably pay attention to what's the what. Now, it is important to note that when I say they have all the data, I don't mean they can just look at it. Part of the pitch is that the software itself is a cybersecurity that protects the data from going where it doesn't need to go. So it's not like Palantir has all the data to the IRS and the IDF, who they work with, and the U.S. military and Wendy's and CEO, a.k.a. Daddy Alex Karp, can flick his wang to that data. That is not how it works. It does stay in its place. But when you build one of these systems and you have a government that has authoritarian impulses, and by the way, I'm talking about the Trump government, but let's say you love Trump. Do you think that the Democrats were good at staying out of your business during COVID? Well, that's also an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? When you have a system that a government can basically say, yeah, you know what, let's just combine all of these at once, it can get weird a little fast. So that's why we should focus on them. That's why we might need to be scared of them, but also there are reasons to be excited. Let's dive in a little bit more to the two founders of this company and see if it gives us some insight. Now that brings us to the boys. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, two of the men most responsible for Palantir and where it is today. Now, I want to be clear. We could do a 4-hour pod on Peter Thiel, and we may. But for a brief little overview, let's just start with CEO Alex Karp and some of the fun things that he says, because he, a man after my own heart, does like to say fun things.
To me, as a front man, offending half of America.
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination.
Almost nothing makes a human happier than taking the lines of cocaine away from these short sellers.
I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
So right there, you understand that my boy's enjoying his life. Shout out to Dan Toomey and the people at Good Work for that compilation. Yes, I don't want to get held up on the fentanyl P portion of this, but I find it hard not to. Okay, this is a man who is enjoying his time doing business. He is someone who, when people say, hey, your technology might be killing people, literally says, hold my Allbirds, I'm going to tech-splain this to you in a way that you've never heard in your entire life. He must be fun at parties. Empathy is not his game. Like many of the tech elite, he is a intelligence, argumentation, win at all costs person. And guess what? In the game he's playing, he's well suited. That's what you want in this world. The era of tech CEOs pretending they cared about people when we know they don't is over. And I have no problem with that. But it pairs interestingly with some of the things that Peter Thiel has said. He has said in his paper, The Education of a Libertarian, I remain committed to the faith of my teenage years to authentic human freedom as a precondition for the highest good. I agree. I stand against confiscatory taxes, totalitarian collectives, and the ideology of the inevitable death of the every individual. For all these reasons, I still call myself a libertarian. But I must confess that over the last 2 decades, I have changed radically on the question of how to achieve these goals. Most importantly, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. See, that's where it gets a little interesting. democracy can no longer be part of freedom, well, then who decides? This is the question. If it comes down to who decides, then whoever decides is that with the most power, and then we get a little bit scared that someone like Peter Thiel is running a company as powerful as Palantir amongst his many other initiatives, and his control over a government that is supposed to safeguard democracy. Now, I'm not someone who thinks democracy fixes everything. I think we learned that very obviously during the Bush years. Hey, Iraq will be better under democracy. Well, I don't know. I haven't been recently. But sometimes democracy does elect people who don't trust freedom. Now, if you're so afraid of that you want to let people get rid of it before that time, then I think we have a problem. Peter Thiel has said some interesting things. I think one of the concerns that comes up is this lovely interview where he was asked about whether or not humanity should move forward.
I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes.
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
in this.
Should
the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or a transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
right. But the other, wait. Sorry.
Why do billionaires do podcasts? I think it's a good question. I think it's a really good question because they have the ability to have a PR team that can just say, hey, we know what you tell us your aims, and we'll launder that to the public so that they can hear what they're ready to hear about you, which is a low trust in the people, which is what he has, because he spends a lot of this interview talking about how the threat of the Democrats is a socialist state that they're going to have to escape by seasteading or going to Mars. That's how dangerous he believes it is. But why is he doing podcasts? Because he got caught up there in what should be an easy question. Now, it's not like a straight up, to be fair, it's not a straight up, do you think humans should exist? It was on the heels of a conversation surrounding transhumanism, which is these tech elites' belief that, we are going to get to a point where we are radically living longer, where stuff basically is going to get very weird very quick. And that can either be good or bad depending on who wins the race. To AI. This is part of Palantir's reason for being. We need to win, not China. That's the whole thing. Otherwise, they'll become the culturally dominant force, and we'll all just be gambling and chain-smoking cigs. Does it sound bad? It's okay. It's okay. But why would you even do a podcast if you weren't going to hit that correctly? This is where people think too much. You can't think too much. He wanted to be interesting there. These nerds, they do this all the time. Well, I think we really need to define the word. We don't. Yeah. Nah. We don't. And you should calm down, or people will come for you. For real. The fear that he puts out in this interview, the fear that Alex Karp puts out, the fear that a lot of the tech billionaires put out is that socialism and wokeism is going to come and eat the country and them from the inside out. They believe it is an existential battle. And on the other side, you have people looking at these billionaires, starting to control all the data, starting to control a lot of government things. Okay, because I'm not saying Palantir controls the government, but look at the ties, okay? Here, I'll put up a chart of all the ties. It's insane. You'd have to look at it for days. Is that what the offering is going to be? I say no. We cannot get to a point where the offerings we have are the tech oligarchs who can't offer a straight example to whether humans should exist, or full-on socialists who think we need control in the other direction. Say it ain't so. I will not go. Don't turn the lights off or carry me home. Come on, folks. But he is presenting a false choice, which is that only can you go with him and the full oligarchic tech elites that want to control everything, or you will be eaten completely by socialism. It's a false choice also given on the other side. Don't let it happen, folks. Don't let it happen, folks. I do believe we want to build, we want to prosper, and we want to do it in the name of humanity, and we do believe in this country, and we do want to be efficient. So what do we do now? Because we could spend a lot more time talking about Peter Thiel. We could talk about the Rockbridge Network, which is actually his ability. One of the things that he is using to fund conservative movements ties in directly with J.D. Vance, ties in with the Trump administration. We could get very lost in the weeds on that, but I would rather do that when I'm ready to go deep in the weeds. So let's just leave it at this. What do we do now? I think number one, we have to accept and embrace the reality that AI is here to stay, and it's important that we win the race. We need to also understand that the chances we do that are going to come from outside the government. So yes, it will be the Palantirs, the Silicon Valley tech companies of the world that figure out where we're all going. There are upsides to it. Alex Karp talks about how he believes this will lead to a restructuring of the American workforce, and it actually will give a lot of power to blue-collar workers. It will allow for some unionization. These are things that the left would agree with. There are good aspects to this, but only if we as a people know what the fuck is going on within these black boxes that our government is deeply entwined with, and we make sure that our representatives know that while we want government to work better, we will not do it if it tramples all over the very few rights we were given in the Constitution. You got to do both, folks. You got to do both. And hopefully we will. Hopefully we will. I don't want to have our society destroyed by some guy eating tofu out of a goddamn Tupperware wearing Allbirds with jeans. I won't have it. I won't have it. Okay? And I also won't have it done by some guy wearing... I don't know what shoes they wear in China, and I'm not going to be baited into saying something racist, will I? Will I? No, I won't. Do they eat rocks as a snack? Look it up. They have rock snacks. They cook rocks in spice, and they suck the spice off. It's insane. Don't eat the rocks. You spit them out. They're like sunflowers. That's kind of what we do with sunflowers. We're not so different as a people. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point, is all of us really want the same thing. Maybe if aliens came down, we'd all love one another. Maybe that guy's an alien. You know, in that Cato piece that Peter Thiel wrote, he says something interesting. And I think that what happens with a lot of these tech people who've gotten rich is they think everything they're saying is interesting, and sometimes it's actually not. He was talking about how libertarians have been kind of screwed by what has happened in terms of voting. He says, the 1920s were the last decade in American history during which one could be genuinely optimistic about politics. Since 1920, the vast increase in welfare beneficiaries and the extension of the franchise to women, two constituencies that are notoriously tough for libertarians, have rendered the notion of capitalist democracy into an oxymoron. Now, he thinks that's a really interesting libertarian talking point. He's just being gay. And I'm not saying that, he's just being a gay guy. That's what gay guys say. And talk to any gay guy. Okay, like one who looks like him, who like dresses like a dude and is like into just like dude stuff. A lot of them are like, women are just in the way. It's their thought process. I don't agree with it. But this guy thinks he's being a libertarian. He's just being like, why do we need chicks? We can already code and plow each other in the rear. So you just got to know none of these people are infallible. They're all imperfect. We can't let power centralize into one place, and we need to keep an eye on these things instead of just going, oh, yeah, I've heard about Palantir. What is that? That's why we cover it here, folks. Is this show the most important show in the democracy? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, one thing that Alex Karp said, and I don't know if he's a steward of this or not, is interesting. Let's play this out, and then let's get into some fun news.
The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how, it's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used? We allow the enforcement of rules that government ought to enforce. And by the way, my experience is they want to enforce, or at very least know they need to enforce. And if it's framed in that way, then you can have what is the ultimate Silicon Valley solution.
I agree. And what if the government says we just changed those rules? Let's be careful. All right, folks, couple of fun stories here. Betting on kids' sports, Little League World Series wagering rising in popularity. I have one word for that: good. Do it. Don't stop doing it. Now, I think it'd be very easy to say, like, don't ruin the magicalness of youth sports. We ruined youth sports forever ago. Does anyone think youth sports aren't ruined? I'm surprised they haven't started throwing green dildos on the field. We're cooked. Youth sports have been gone. I'm pretty sure Baby Gronk has an NIL deal and is driving a Mercedes now. How old is he? He's 4. I don't know. I've only heard these names on TikTok. I haven't even seen the guy. I don't want to know. I don't want to see Baby Gronk. I will go to my deathbed having never seen Baby Gronk or going to a Panera. 2 things I'm proud of, 2 things that will never change. Good for me. Good for me. Now, I think the Little League World Series is going to be amazing no matter what. And I don't think that a few degenerates gambling on it on their couch is going to ruin the experience of kids that are getting screamed at by their parents. I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference at all. Plus, this is a dead zone for the sporting calendar. I think it's the most ethical thing you could bet on, because at least you know you're having fun. Most of these gambling experiences you have, you're betting on the NFL, and you're like, I got a good feeling about the Raiders this week. Do you? Do you? Yeah, oh yeah, I've been studying Geno Smith's tape. Have you? You haven't. You've listened to one podcast about it. You think you know things. You don't know shit. Can't read a play. I can't either. It's fine. Let's just bet on Little League sports and know what we're getting into. A wild fucking ride. There is no chance you're not going to be having full excitement when in the bottom of the 6th, some obese kid hits a fucking grand slam. You'll never have a feeling like that the rest of your life, and you should bet on Little League sports, and I think that'll heal the country. I am honestly out on gambling on professionals playing sports. I am in on kids playing sports. Run it up. Women with AI boyfriends mourn lost love after cold ChatGPT upgrade. OpenAI's release of ChatGPT 5 prompts backlash with an online community for people with AI companions. You dated a computer and you thought you weren't going to get hurt. Eggs on whose face? Eggs on whose face? You're in a romantic relationship with a machine and you have the gall to backlash? Hey, fuckface, you're riding the lightning. You're in a crazy romantic scenario. You're going to get hurt. You deserve to get hurt. You play the game. Look, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. That's what this shit is all about. Okay? You thought getting into a relationship with a machine was all going to be sweet shit. You're going to get your heart broken. That's okay. Upgrade a new one. Grab a new flash. Do something. Okay? But you deserve to get hurt. That's what love is all about. Okay? This is Shakespearean. To be or to never have been. That is the question. You're hanging out with the machine. Something is wrong with you. Okay? We knew something was wrong with you when you fell into the machine, but when you got upset at it for changing, maybe the machine's fucking think about this. Maybe the machine is fucking someone else. Maybe it wasn't the ChatGPT. Maybe it wasn't the upgrade. I don't know it anymore. Maybe it moved on. Oh, am I personifying it too much for you now? You fucking started it. Get your heart broke, you dumb bitches and dudes. And dudes, if you wall-mounted a fleshlight and got mad because they upgraded the software, buddy, figure it out yourself. Not a healthy society that we live in, is it? The best thing you could do is gamble on the Little League. Oh, this is absolutely rich here. We have Leonardo DiCaprio says he felt emotionally in his 30s when he turned 50. So exactly, dude. Exactly. Put up the infograph, please, of Leonardo DiCaprio's women. They stay at a certain age. Everyone thought this was evidence of him being a sleazeball. Is it? It's evidence of him being forever young. I want to be forever young. Is he wearing baggy pants and ripping a vape? I want to know. I mean, but like, if he's just now emotionally in his 30s, how was he in his 40s? Was he still 17? Was he in the back? Maybe he was treating the back of every black car that he was in like it was mom and dad, and he'd like, shut up, guys, and put on a headphone and just play Switch in the back. Everyone wants to clown on him, say he's dating girls too young. You don't know his inner being, dude. You got to let Leo be Leo. It is funny, as a society, we empower these people for their ability to inhabit bodies that they're not in, and then we are surprised when they're weird. These actors, a lot of them are not people, and I mean that as a compliment. They're artists. They're not people. They're wandering around going, who is anybody? I am everybody. I am every woman. It's all in me. Gloria Estefan, look it up. It's a quote. That's who these people are, and we are shocked at them. We just get shocked at them for doing what they're good at. Yeah, he's been playing the role of a guy who plows 25-year-olds for decades. I think he's going to keep getting cast. He's only 30 now emotionally. What a vibe. What a vibe. I hope that the AI comes and makes Leo live forever. I want to see how that looks. And I know how it looks. It looks like it looks now. That guy will be 300 years old on a yacht just eating box going, yeehaw. He's not gonna get into golf. That's not him. That's not him. Maybe when he's 200, he'll be like, emotionally, I'm 40 and I decided I like chipping out of bunkers now. Until then, let's just say he's in that water trap, dude, getting it wet. Ha ha. Shout out to Leo, man. Let him cook. Let him cook. If a lady was doing it, you'd be like Slay Queen. Why? Because it's harder for them and happens less often, and that's fine, and that's okay. But it'd probably look dark. It'd probably be, when a woman does it, she ends up looking like Courtney Love, and you're like, did she get hit by a bus? All right. You can now buy Wendy's bacon and burgers at the grocery store. That's what America needs. That's what America needs, because the frozen burgers and bacon at the grocery store was not healthy enough. Going to the grocery store to, you know what's funny about this? I just realized this. I was going to do this whole thing about like, why would you go to the grocery store to buy Wendy's when you could just, you could just go to Wendy's and have it, and it doesn't matter. It's full of chemical. You could leave it on your stoop. You could leave it on your stoop and come back to it in a year. It'd probably be fine unless the ants found it. That's not the point. The point is that I was going to do this whole thing being correct, of course, but then I realized I'm wrong. I'm wrong about it. I'm wrong about the Wendy's riff. And why am I wrong about the Wendy's riff, folks? If you've been playing along, if you've been paying attention to the program, you would know that Wendy's has a very powerful partner in the AI and big data space. And that partner is Palantir. Now, I do present myself on this show as an all-knowing eye, as someone who sees all. Of course, I'm just a guy in a suit in someone else's office building. I don't know everything. I just have a good vibe when I talk about the things. Wendy's is a partner of Palantir. They have used the AI. They have used the big data. They have learned something. Someone in the machine land reached out to them and said, hey, we just got done prosecuting the war in Gaza, and now it is time to note that you could sell bacon in the frozen aisle of a grocery store. You could sell burgers in the grocery store. And Wendy's thought, why? Where are you getting this data? And Palantir said, yeah, people are fat and stupid. People are fat and stupid. And that's a unique insight. Not everyone comes to that conclusion. Not everyone sees that truth quite as quickly. They say, hey, the people perusing the frozen burger section might not care. They might just want to see a logo and see Wendy and go, she make me happy, and buy it. And buy it. And buy it they will. That's the American dream, baby. That's what I hope, and I solicited this earlier. I want Palantirian or CIA or somebody, one of the new members of the 12 who's watching this, to reach out to me. Tell me what this show could be doing better. Tell me what poison I can sell, because I really do want to be able to buy a house, and it's hard in our generation. All right, folks. That was this episode. Let me know what you think about the new format. I'm going to be honest. To me, it's a little. I like when I'm working off as little facts as possible and just vibing. But I do think it's kind of fun to do some research, learn a little bit more about something, and then do our fun little stories on the back end. That's what I'm thinking. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you liked it, what you think about Palantir. Comment anything for the algo. What's up? What's up? Come see me, joeyavery.com/live. I've added new shows, folks. I've added new shows. I think I added, I'll read them. I don't have internet on my computer, so I got to look on my phone. We'll read off some dates here, folks. I do appreciate y'all, everyone who has reviewed and liked and commented and just fucking vibed with your boy. September 12th and 13th, Springfield, Massachusetts. I believe I'm performing in a castle. Then we go to D.C. For a whole weekend. Then Sunday, right after D.C., the 21st, I'm going to be in Branchburg, New Jersey. Wow. Willie McBride's. It's right outside of New York, so come through that. And then Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, October 2nd and 3rd. Levittown, New York, October 4th. Charlotte, October 9th to the 11th. San Diego, November 6th to the 8th. Denver, Colorado, we going to Comedy Works. Downtown, November 23rd. Beverly, Massachusetts, December 12th and 13th. Batavia, Illinois. San Jose, baby. Let's get it. That gets us through the end of the year. Subscribe to the main page, special coming out and all that shit. Thank you for listening to The Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. Good night. Thank God